There are a number of reasons for why Diablo Immortal's announcement turned out to be such a catastrophic PR move for Activision Blizzard. I've already talked extensively about what a terrible idea it was for Blizzard to make a mobile Diablo game the centerpiece of their hallmark BlizzCon presentation, which is primarily attended and viewed by hardcore fans and PC gamers. Blizzard willfully appealed to the wrong audience for the sake of getting the word out there that a financially lucrative Diablo mobile game was coming, and it definitely felt like an unveiling for the investors and for the Chinese market, rather than for the Blizzard community. But another reason for why people are so on edge about this game is because of the notorious reputation that mobile games, Activision, and co-developer NetEase have when it comes to monetization schemes. All three are bad enough on their own, but now we're getting a product that's not only a mobile game, one that's taking advantage of a popular brand, but also one that's being developed by two companies who have an extensive track record of implementing terrible microtransaction schemes in their games, which is why even among the crowd that might be interested in a mobile outing of Diablo, the primary concern is that its monetization scheme will mar the game's integrity. Let me remind you that Activision Blizzard already tried to pull some shady shit with Diablo 3 and its auction houses, which they eventually had to remove after Universal backlash, so this wouldn't be their first attempt to recurrently monetize a Diablo game. Now, we currently do not know how microtransactions will work in the mobile game, but it's highly doubtful that Activision Blizzard and NetEase will bypass the lucrative opportunity to nickel and dime the living hell out of it, and a recent development has only further raised concerns that this will indeed be the case. Not long after Diablo Immortal's announcement, evidence has surfaced that Blizzard and NetEase may be in discussions about how monetization might function in the game. The following information comes from a Reddit user going by the name of Ikeda Koji, who transcribed a post from a Taiwanese blog detailing a rather disconcerting discovery. The discovery in question is this picture right here, which was apparently posted on NetEase's website before being taken down not long after. What the image in question is showing is a meeting during which a slide is being presented on how item upgrades are intended to work for Diablo Immortal. Another Reddit user has identified the presenter in this picture as Li Yang, producer for Diablo Immortal at NetEase. He can also be seen sitting in this BlizzCon 2018 media panel alongside Diablo principal game designer Wyatt Chang and Blizzard co-founder Alan Adam, during which they answered questions about the mobile game. Speaking of Wyatt Chang, he can also be spotted in this photo, sitting down right here, paying close attention to this presentation. So yeah, suffice to say that there is no denying this meeting is directly related to Diablo Immortal, and that it is a congregation between Blizzard and NetEase. But more important to analyze is the contents of this presentation slide. All the information here is in Chinese, and much of it is ineligible anyway due to how low resolution the image is, but a couple of key elements can be gleaned at and translated. The title of the slide apparently reads Gear Enhancement Basic Rules, and according to the Taiwanese blogger, Diablo Immortal's gear enhancement will use veiled crystals. If you've played Diablo 3, then you might be familiar with this currency. In that game, veiled crystals are obtained by breaking down and salvaging rare armor and weapons, and these crystals can then be used as material to craft different items and equipment at the blacksmith, and they can also be used for enchanting and transmutating gear. It's not officially known how they'll be used for Diablo Immortal, but looking at this slide, it is possible to make a few assumptions. See how it shows an item on the left and how adding a veiled crystal will result in an upgraded version of that item? Well, apparently one popular practice in Asian pay-to-win games is to make it so that when enhancing items with enchantments and the like, there's a system in place so that there will be a chance of failure, and what premium currency does is allow players to reduce the chances of failure or outright guarantee success if they invest enough premium currency. So the example provided on this Reddit post lists how the Ring of Jordan level 2 might grant plus 10 attack, and how it could be upgraded to level 3 so that the stat increases to plus 12 attack. But there's also a chance that the upgrade will fail, so to mitigate that, one might be able to expend a veiled crystal to add an extra 30% chance that the enchantment will succeed. During the process, one might also see an option to purchase more veiled crystals on the spot to ensure that your hard-earned upgrade doesn't end up failing. Keep in mind that we don't know for sure at this point whether Diablo Immortal will use such a system, but it is something that's employed in many NetEase games, and given how much Diablo Immortal looks and seems to play like other NetEase titles, who's to say that there won't be resemblances in monetization systems as well? Ideally, I'd like for the game to not have any microtransactions whatsoever, but we all know that's not gonna happen. So at least I'd like to think that Blizzard will put its foot down and determine a monetization system that won't draw heavily from the controversial scheme of existing NetEase games, and implement something that won't affect gameplay or tarnish the game's design to psychologically prey on players. But aside from the fact that this project is being spearheaded by two notoriously greedy companies, Activision and NetEase, and aside from the fact that mobile games akin to Diablo Immortal are notoriously predatory by design, it doesn't help matters that Blizzard has been pretty evasive when asked about how monetization will work in this particular game. A number of outlets like GameSpot have directly inquired about this matter, and the response they're giving everyone is that they're focused on getting the game right before talking about business specifics.
We haven't decided the business model for the game yet. Right now our focus is on making like a really fun action RPG experience. It's too soon to say right now.
Yeah, that's a bullshit answer and they know it, especially when getting the game right these days is so heavily tied to how systems and mechanics are affected by monetization. The fact of the matter is that this is a topic they simply don't want to bring up because they know it will only instigate further backlash, probably because they have something to hide. But staying completely silent about it without offering any reassurances whatsoever only raises further suspicion, and it only tells us that we should anticipate the worst case scenario under the circumstances and given mobile games' reputation nowadays. Something Wyatt Chang expressed was that he doesn't believe mobile should be seen as a dirty word to justify Diablo Immortal's announcement, but mobile's tarnished reputation is something that the industry brought entirely on itself with what a cesspool they've turned the mobile market into. Want us to stop stigmatizing mobile games? Then make one that shows some conceited effort to maintain some dignity, or be transparent about how Diablo Immortal won't just be another mobile game that puts monetization first and gameplay second, as Activision and NetEase have done time and again. But of course, they can only make reassurances that are actually true. It's almost as if they have no reassurances to give. Silence speaks pretty clearly in this case, and photos like this one, as well as the decision to yank it so suddenly from NetEase's website after word began to spread, also paint quite a picture. Now, as I've said before, in the grand scheme of things, I really don't give a damn about the existence of this mobile game, as long as mainline entries are still in active development, which they are. The current backlash is more about Blizzard's audacity to make a mobile game the centerpiece of their fan celebration event, which is attended by a crowd that's largely uninterested in mobile versions of Blizzard IPs, and I think everyone agrees that backlash could have easily been mitigated with something as simple as a logo teaser for Diablo 4. But I know there are some fans who might be curious or interested in trying out a mobile Diablo game while they wait for Diablo 4, and for those folks, it would be a pleasant surprise to find that this Diablo game is a cut above the rest rather than a dime in a corrupted dozen. Unfortunately, given the parties involved in the creation of this project, given what's been said and what hasn't been said, and given the potential implications of this picture, it's hard for me to remain optimistic for the possibility that Diablo Immortal may not go pay to win or won't favor those who spend a ludicrous amount of money for gameplay upgrades that will give them a distinct gameplay advantage. We don't know for sure though, it's all conjecture, and this picture could just turn out to be a discussion for the game's veiled crystal system, which by some miracle may not actually be tied to any form of monetization. Given all we know though, I really have to wonder what the odds of that being the case actually are, or if a company like Activision Blizzard even deserves the benefit of the doubt. I will say this though, if they royally fuck up the business model for Diablo Immortal, it'll certainly reflect poorly on all those other mobile games for all their other IPs that they're working on right now, which is something that Al and Adam announced during one of their media panels to the continued disdain of fans.
We have many of our best developers now working on new mobile titles across all of our IPs.
So the hope is that Activision Blizzard will do the smart thing here and think long-term. Fans might be more open to mobile games down the line if the company manages to dispel skepticism, prove they can get it right, and make something that could actually sustain hardcore players without constantly trying to swindle them. But until they decide to come out and be straight with us about what Diablo Immortal's microtransactions will entail, or until they can clarify what's going on here, yeah, I would say that apprehension is a reasonable mindset to have. These are one man's perspective anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on this picture showing Blizzard meeting NetEase about how veiled crystals will be implemented into their Diablo mobile game in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content and would like to support this channel directly, consider donating on Patreon. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.